There are a number of other developments across the region as fears grow that Israel's war with Hamas may expand. Journalist Rebecca Collard is tracking them for us from Beirut, and she joins us now. So, Rebecca, let's start with the latest that is happening on the Lebanon-Israel border. We were hearing a little bit about that from Susan as well, but in terms of an escalation of fighting, what are we seeing?
Yeah, I think Susan really laid out what's been happening, and really it's been happening over the last 13 days, almost 2 weeks now. We have seen these exchanges of fire, and not just between Israel and Hezbollah, but also between Israel and various Palestinian militant groups such as Hamas that are also operating in South Lebanon. And we have seen kind of a sustained and gently escalating conflict on that border for 2 weeks. Now, yesterday, we're hearing this morning from the Lebanese army that yesterday there was a journalist killed again on that border. And that's 1 week after Issam Abdallah, the Reuters journalist, was killed on that border. Both times fire coming from Israel by an Israeli strike. So I think that is really concerning and an indication of exactly how tense things are getting down there, Hillary. And I think that the big concern here is that, if something starts here in Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah, that what we could see is a much wider regional conflict.
Let's talk about some of those high-profile visits that we're keeping an eye on. Of course, there was that one earlier this week from the U.S. President Joe Biden, but there are a number of others as well. So what can you tell us about those?
Yeah, first of all, let me say, we also had the German defense minister here yesterday, and he was visiting UNIFIL troops in southern Lebanon. So, since the late 70s, there has been this UN peacekeeping force in South Lebanon, but I think as we clearly see, they're not really able to keep the peace. There is the rockets attacks. Of course, there has been skirmishes on the border many times over the decades that force was there, and also there was the war in 2006. So he was visiting troops there, urging that the many countries that have troops serving in South Lebanon do not pull their troops out. But as you said, we have seen so many high-profile visits. We saw Biden's visit. The British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is now making his rounds. He's in Saudi Arabia. He will go to Egypt. Antonio Guterres is also in Egypt. And I think, Susan was talking about the eyes there on this Rafah border crossing, whether or not it will be open to allow foreign nationals out and aid in. And the last thing I'll say, just in regards to regional escalation, Hillary, is that we've also seen attacks on U.S. bases yesterday in Syria and also in Iraq, as well as the U.S. reporting that rockets fired from Yemen were intercepted by a U.S. boat. So, obviously all of our eyes as far as the second front are here on Lebanon, the southern border, but we're also seeing, kind of little bits of escalation really around the region, Hillary.
Rebecca, as always, thank you so much for this. We do appreciate it. Rebecca Collard for us there in Beirut.